Nice. So, guys, hello, guys. We'll be doing a session on creating an app using Streamline and Streamlit and Carat. So that's the session today. Primarily, there's a lot of elements that will go through in terms of making this app, but I'm trying to, keep it. I'm going to keep it very simple so that uh, you get the overall idea of why we are doing this. Okay. Now, I'm also going to see some comments. So I need to open the YouTube link also. So let me just open the YouTube link so I can see comments from. Hey guys, nice to be. Okay, so now I can see the comment section also, guys. So which means you can post a comment there, and then we'll basically get started. Anyways, this is awesome. Okay, so let's look at the end product, guys, before we start off, so that we get a good hang of what we're going to build today. There's a lot of prerequisite that you'll be requiring, Sai Vishal. So hang in there, and there's so many questions that will be coming for that. Okay, thank you for the background. Anyways, guys, so let's first begin with the concept in mind. Okay. Now, how many of you have built a regression equation and how many of you have built a classification equation? Okay. Just let me know how many of you have built any regression or classification equation, any of these equations. Yes, done, done, done. Okay. Now let's look at the context. So, okay, it's okay. Even if it is ML is not started yet, none of that will matter in terms of how I'm going to look at this, right? And plus, okay, now let's break this. Those who are new, watch how in context all of these ML algorithms and the apps and all of that comes together, right? And those of you know how regression works or ML works, right? This is going to provide you how you're going to be using that same concepts that you have learned, but serving it to customers or serving it to your stakeholders, right? That's going to be more important than actually building the model. So here we're going to break down into certain elements. Okay. The elements that we are going to be breaking down are, first we'll be obviously building the ML models. Then second, we're going to have an interface like this that will allow us to choose the age, the gender, such as like this, or let's say the BMI of the person, the number of children that are there, smoker or not, and which region they come from, right? And then click on predict, which will then predict how much insurance amount the insurance company should charge this particular customer, right? So basically imagine this application is getting built for a particular insurance representative, or let's say an end customer also, right? What they want to see is basically fill in a certain details about themselves and then get an estimate of what the insurance amount is going to be looking like for them, right? So that's the end goal. You have a bunch of parameters that you can plug in to get an output which will then be charged to the customer, the end user, or let's say the sales representative that is selling the insurance to be able to charge that customer, right? And as you can see, a lot of parameters will decide how much that amount is going to be, right? And the ML algorithm that we are going to be making is going to help us generate this thing, right? And then what we are going to do, essentially what we are going to do is generate an equation that will help us predict this particular value or the insurance amount that the customer should be paying, right? Nice. Now, once we have set the context, I want you all to mark a yes if you've understood how this particular app is going to be, what are we going to be doing and what's the end goal for this particular session. Indian rupees, obviously, Vivek, you want to code it, right? It's only coded for dollars right now, so we will show it within dollars. But yeah, if you want to do it in Indian dollars, Indian rupees, then you'll have to code it accordingly, right? So for now, it is in dollars, so we'll continue with that. Okay, cool. So the setup that you will be needing, guys, again, I'm not going to spend so much time on the setup, but I'll briefly tell you what are the setup that I have used to get this app launched on the Heroku app. Okay, nice. Thank you for the inputs, guys. So once we have all of these things set up, first let me show you a mini version of how we are going to be doing it in Excel, and then we will get back into the coding and all of that, right? So first, let's look at how the data looks like, what and how we're going to build the model and all of that. Okay. So this is our data, guys. What this data contains is age, the gender, BMI, children, how many children that particular person has, uh, is he a smoker, yes or no, and different regions, right? So you have 4 different regions. Imagine, all of these insurance companies are breaking it into multiple regions, and so each line represents one customer, and there is already a way of you know charging a customer that is there within this, right? So if this is our y variable, the charges is our y variable, what kind of model do you think we'll be building, guys, here? So if charges is our model, the y variable, what kind of model will be building here, guys? I'll give all the codes and all of that, guys. So don't worry about the codes. You'll not miss anything. And I've also provided the link to that thing. Okay. So yes, this is the regression equation. Yes, it's going to be a regression equation because you're predicting a value at the end of the day, right? Multilinear regression, absolutely. Okay, cool. So let's first look at how this particular app is going to be looking like within Excel and what we are doing, right? So first we'll have data, right? With the data, we need to build a model or an equation that we can use on the app that I'm showing here, right? There is an equation in the background that is getting used here, and that's the thing that we need to build first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a much more smaller version to quickly create and show you a simple version that simple equation that we can be using it in the app. And the app, the thing is going to be looking like this, right? So I have 3 different variables. I have charges, and I'm going to go to the data tab and do some data analysis here. And I'm going to build a really quick and dirty regression equation here, right? So the y range is obviously this particular column here. X range is going to be these 3 columns here. Okay, I'm going to show the labels, and I'm just going to say rest of the things okay, and just say okay to get the final outcome like this, right? So as you can see here, ignore all of the statistics. We are learning to build the app, right? So we're not going to be discussing whether it's an accurate model, not an accurate model, improved model, or none of that. I know everybody's going to be mastering that someday or the other. But this focus is going to be on how we're going to use the outcome of the regression analysis in our application, right? That's the focus area. Cool, guys. So essentially what we did is we took the data. When we are doing the Python app, we will be using all the columns, but in Excel, I can only show so many columns and then get the coefficients. But whatever we are doing here, it holds true for what application that we are building there. Okay. Anyway, so let's look at this. What I did is I took the data and then I built a model, and the model gave me an output like this, right? Now let's copy this output to this particular location here, right? Now what this means is that the insurance amount that I should charge a customer is dependent on the coefficients that we have here, right? Which means the insurance amount that we want to give to the customer is dependent on all of these inputs. So how will that equation look like? It will be the intercept, right? Plus, obviously you want to give the age into the user input that is provided, right? So for that, I'll just provide a user input here. And I'm just going to place this a little bottom here somewhere. Sorry, I just placed it somewhere here. And I'm going to place this here. And this is going to be the user input, right? So user inputs are age of, let's say, 25, a BMI of, let's say, 20, and children 0. And, he's expecting a insurance amount here, right? So insurance amount is obviously going to be the intercept, right? The intercept plus the age provided into the coefficient that we have for the age there, right? Plus the BMI into the BMI coefficient that we have here, plus 0 into the children coefficient that we have here, right? So basically, if I just simply put this equation in place and I do format it into in this particular way. In fact, let me do currency. That way it's much more better. And as you can see, last thing is the formatting. Somebody was asking, can we do it in Indian rupees, right? You see, in whichever format I put this, that's the output that it will be there, right? It doesn't really matter which format, which numbers you are making it in. It holds true for anything. It's the final thing, that amount, if you want to put it in rupees, dollars, or whatever it is, that's up to you, right? But we are doing in dollars. This is available in dollars, so I'm just going to be using dollars in this situation. Fair enough. Anyway, so now that you know that, yes, we take all of these inputs and then take the user inputs. The user comes in, plugs in all of these details, and then he gets the insurance amount that he should be paying to the company, right? Now, obviously, if I increase the age and increase the BMI, let's say improve the children, you'll see the insurance amount will automatically be shooting up, right? Because we're changing these parameters. And so quite similarly, if you reduce it, like if you're 21, your body mass index is, let's say, 20-ish, you have 0 children, right? So you will lower your insurance amount if you are going down that particular way, right? So that's what this app will help us do. It will give us it will basically help us uh, help the customer get to know what the insurance amount he should be paying to that insurance company basis his details that is provided, right? So essentially this is what we are doing, but this is again an Excel way of more simplified way of doing it. But what we will be doing it is in this format, right? So we will build a Python model, and then we will make it into a format that we can actually launch it on a server so that it can be usable, right? So end of the course, right, end of the session, this is what you will be finally building, right? A much more modified version of it. Okay, and I'm going to simplify this a little bit, not make it too heavy so that everybody can execute this. Okay, now, let's get into the coding part. I hope everybody has understood what our end objective is, and a small version I have created on Excel and showed you so that you can know what the end objective is going to be looking like, or what we're going to be doing, right? Cool. I'll ask another question. If you got the context, please say yes. And another thing is, I'll ask another question. Um, how many of you use Anaconda or PyCharm? PyCharm. That will help me decide how we are going to code it. Okay, cool. Okay, now whichever format you use it, guys, whichever format you use, you're going to require a new PyCharm and Anaconda. Okay, no problem. Okay, so we're not going to be using uh, a notebook here, because notebooks are not really good for applications. We are going to be using .py file, right? So even if you're using Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook, what you want to do is you want to place all of the code within .py file, whatever we're going to be using here, right? So that way it's going to be a lot easier for you to make the app, right? So that's the thing. Now, so let's set it up, how we are going to be doing this particular thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you the structure of the files that will be used. This thing, not all of the files, but I'm going to also share this location with everybody here. I hope everybody has this location. This is the location that we're going to be using. The code that I'm going to be using is going to be here, and we're going to use this app dot simple code here, right? So there's this bunch of code that is there, and for creating model, there's this another bunch of code that will be used, right? So we're going to use those essentials, and for launching it into Heroku, there is going to be another process, right? So we're going to be doing that process also, and I'll show you how we're going to be doing some of those things also. Okay, so that being said, that's the coding part that we'll be doing, and I'm going to be using PyCharm for building this out. Okay, hope you can see my screen, this PyCharm, and I'm going to start it from basics, so you'll not have to worry that how I'm going to be doing it, or how it's going to be done. Okay, data is present within that same link. Data is present within the same link, right? This is the data. Okay, awesome. Cool. So if you're in PyCharm, or let's say if you're in Anaconda, what you can do is you can go to Spider, use Spider, and then okay, this is not visible. Do you want me to? Okay, how do we change the size? Theme. Okay, let me see. I don't know how to change the theme of PyCharm. Zoom in. Yes, let me do that, guys. Just give me a moment while I figure this out. I've never really changed it because this is the settings that I like it. Uh, 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 uh. Okay, let me just change the settings, guys. Just give me a moment while I change this. Files and settings. Okay, let's change it here. Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Font size, I'll increase it. Is this a lot better? Lot better, guys. This is white in color now. Okay. And I'm also going to be, okay. The editor font, let's increase that to, let's say 20 or something like that. Okay, the font is a lot better, guys. Okay, I think so the font is a lot bigger now. Is it visible now? Awesome. Okay, cool. Awesome. Very good. So let's do this, guys. Awesome. So let's create a new project, right? And before I do that, basically, what I do is I come to this Heroku, like I use this, this, what do you say, the GitHub desktop. And what I do is I basically, create a new repository here, right? So basically, I'm going to call this as, let's say, Streamlit, Heroku insurance app. Okay, live. So I'm going to create this into a location, and I'm going to initialize this with Python, the typical things that you need to do. And I'm just going to put a mid license on this, right? So I'm just going to create this app name, create repository. Now, even if you don't know this, that's okay for now, right? But you create that a repository, and then what you do is you publish the repository, and I'm going to keep this not private, and then publish this repository. So what this does is basically, if I now look at GitHub, so basically this repository that we created is available for us, right? We have your README file, this one, you have the license, git ignore and git attributes, all of this available, right? So I'm going to share this GitHub link to you so that you can basically copy this or fork this and then use it. But this is primarily what I will be using in this place, right? So anything I create will be in this particular location that I will be creating. Okay. So I'm going to say a new project, obviously, and I'm going to choose the file, the location to be the one that I just recently created, right? So it's going to be this one, and I'm going to use a new environment or a virtual environment for me to basically do this, right? Or some existing interpreter, right? So if you don't have any interpreter already available with you, what you can do is you can just do a conda environment, or you can do a virtual environment, whichever you choose to be doing it, with a 3.7 Python version, right? And then go ahead and create that interpreter. But I already have certain interpreters with me, so I'm just going to be using that directly, right? So that I don't have to reinvent a lot of these things again, right? So I'll just say create. And basically now what's happening is the app is getting created in this particular location, and soon it will be in the folder that we have here, right? So this is the Streamlight app that we are going to use. Okay, cool. There are a couple of things that comes here in PyCharm. You want to just say fix and just say configure automatically, and it will automatically add this. Okay. Awesome. So now we have this README file that you're seeing here, right? And obviously we'll have to see how we can now start creating the stuff within this particular thing, right? So here, first thing I'm going to create is a Python file, and I'm going to call this as a create model. Right? So this is the create model file. Basically, we are going to take this data in, right, and build a model, and then just save the model's output into the same folder here, right? So we can then pick up and then use that in the app. That's what we are doing here, right? So let me just go there to the window that I have open here, right? Okay, awesome. Okay. Now that I am here, this is where we will start the model building process. I'm just setting up a couple of things. Okay, the create model. Okay. So this is what we're going to do in the create model, guys. What we'll do is we'll use this library called PyCarat. It's a much more better organized package which helps you create these models quickly and evaluate them, and then dump that model in a situation where we can use it, right? When I said dump the model, basically what I'm trying to say is this coefficients that we have, right? It will dump it in a file that we can later pick up and then use in the application, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, once I'm here, I'm just going to say import pandas as PD, because again, we require this from PyCaret dot regression. From PyCaret dot regression, we're going to import all of it. Right? So these are the two lines of codes that we will be requiring, and I'm just going to paste them. I mean, you can just use them or save them. I'm just going to put that in the chart there. Sklearn, you can use Prathamesh, but the only difference is that you're going to be doing a lot of things on your own, right? So basically, that's the thing. And then obviously, within this particular thing, you also want to create, like, install the PyCaret package, because that's going to be requiring for us to do that, right? So I'm just going to say install the PyCaret package, and it will automatically be doing that PyCaret package in the background. It will be installing that for us, right? Anyway, so once we have imported both this library, I mean, both these libraries, the pandas and PyCaret, what we next need to do is basically import the data, right? So obviously you all know how we can import the data. Data is equal to, and I'm just going to say pd dot read underscore csv, right? And at this point, I don't have the data in this folder, so I'm just going to take it from the previous folder that I have already used, right? So I have this location, and I'm just going to paste it in this application that we built right now. And where is my application? This one, right? So I paste this data. If you want this data, it's already there in the GitHub link that I've already given. So just use that link for it, right? So I'm just going to read that data, and it's going to be insurance.csv, right? So we've read the data. Hopefully this installation will be complete by then. Okay, it's going on. So let it be going on. Cool. Next, obviously, once that this one is we've imported data, what we now need to do is we basically now need to build a model and then try to dump that particular model as a deployment file or something like that, right? So that file we need to create a file that will help us deploy the model or the application, right? So for that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this the setup of function of this particular what do you say, the PyCaret, and it's basically works like this, right? So you have a setup file that you require, right? um, you need to basically give the data that is there, right? Then you have to give the target variable that you're going to be using for this particular model, right? So in our case, the target model is going to be charges, right? So I'm just going to be saying charges, charges, charges. That's the right one. I'm also going to give a session ID so that we can replicate what the outcomes that we have here, right? So there are some of the parameters that we just need to give, guys. So normalize, we are going to obviously normalize all of the variables that are there, and this is a quick and simple way of doing a lot of things. You can still use sklearn and then use pickles to export the models, but again, this helps us sort of save a lot of time and then do things much more quickly while we are doing building things or experimenting on things or creating drafts and all of that thing. Even for live also, I find this PyCaret a lot useful and saves a lot of time actually, right? So I'm going to say normalize is this true. Then I'm just going to also give some polynomial features, is going to be true. Again, this is doing some basically feature engineering also. If you want to create some of these features there, right? And then obviously there are some trigno trigonometry. I hope I got that spelling correct. Features is equal to true, right? So these are like some additional features that will be automatically created, guys, right? And then action is equal to true. If you want to know more about this, I build the model and then deploy it immediately. Anyways, I'm going to pin any of the numeric features that are there. So bin numeric features is equal to, and I'm going to give age comma BMI as the features that we want to bin. Right, this is going to be BMI. Okay, so we basically have all of these. PyCarat is still installing. That's okay. Anyway, so you have all of these setup parameters. You have the data, you have the target variable, session ID, and then you want to normalize all of the variables, because again you need to normalize. That's the step that we will be doing. That we take for converting all of these variables to you know be converting this particular variables into any of the things that we want to be creating, right? So that's one of the things. And obviously then you have polynomial features. Basically you're creating some additional features, you you know and to ensure that your model is much more accurate within this particular thing, right? And then there are a couple of other things that are there which are just best kept there. You want to read the PyCaret documentation to just understand some of these parameters, right? And I'm going to do the binning. If you have done any regression equation, basically, you'll know that binning sort of helps you um, create the model in a much more better way. And so we're going to be doing the binning there also, right? So these are some of the things that we have created. And then obviously now we're going to build the model here in this particular thing. We're just going to be creating a logistic regression in this particular scenario, right? And then not really logistic regression, linear regression, sorry. Linear regression, and I'm going to say create model, sorry, underscore model. As you can see, it's a lot easier to create such models within PyCaret, right? So I'm just going to give the LR model within this particular thing, linear regression, right? And then that's it. That's the modeling process, right? So we build the model now, and then we want to save the model, uh, the LR model that we created, and then we just give a model name here, right? The model name is going to be something, right? So I'm just going to give, let's say, deployment underscore, and obviously you want to give a date to it, right? So it's 10, sorry, 11, 10, 2020, right? So that's really the piece of code that we have within which we are able to create this, right? So to save this, and this is good enough. Okay, something seems to be wrong here. The environment has wrongly been set up, so we might have to change this a little bit. Tu. Okay, so ideally we should be able to run this. Okay, so I'm just going to run this and let's see how this is going to be working like, right? So there seems to be PyCaret not installed properly. So what we'll have to do is, let's see if we can pip install PyCaret. Takes a couple of seconds to build the thing. Somehow it didn't install it that properly. But yeah, let's see if this is going to be working the magic. So you want to install all of these libraries well ahead so that it works properly. And obviously I'm also going to be installing the Streamlight so that that's also going to be working there. Okay, so meanwhile, this is getting installed. Everybody till here, you have understood what we have done, right? Basically, what we have done is we have imported the PyCaret regression module. We set that up. It takes simple parameters to be updated so that you can create the model, right? So you take all of that pre-processing steps, right? Like data cleaning, data missing treatment, right? All of those things, new features, all of those things are basically done by this setup. You then create the linear regression model and then you save the model in the same folder that it's there, right? So these all steps are done very quickly. You can use sklearn and all of that to basically do it and do it. Why to install pygame? No, it's PyCaret actually. Pygame, I don't know if it's that will be required or not, but yeah, PyCaret will be definitely be required. Okay, so this should be almost over. Anyway, so while that is getting done, guys, we need to now move on to like create the app also, right? So what we will do is, if you have that create model, right? What you can do is you can create another Python file, and this one we're going to call this as app.py, right? You're going to create a new Python file, call it app.py. And once that app.py is created, this is where we are going to write all the application code and see how that application is going to be turning out to be for us, right? Basically, the code to do this stuff here, right? So we'll really take it from the basic steps and then we'll keep incrementing stuff there. Okay, I think so. This should be done. Now, if I run this, hopefully there should be no error. Okay, why is it saying there is no module called PyCaret? Okay, error that you'll have to see, Rohit. I don't know. I've never encountered right now. This is not working. Let's see how we can do that. Okay, some of this Carat one is not working as easily. Huh. But, capital C, absolute. Let's check that. No, it should be Carat itself. Something was wrong with the spelling. Yeah, so trigonometry, again, there is this spelling mistake. So trigonometry. Yeah, so that is cool. Save. Okay, and let me run it again. Seem like it's working now. Yeah. So the entire thing will be run, and basically now what will happen is you'll see that there will be a model file getting created. So let it be done first, and then we'll wait for it to get done. The model should be created, but there might be some hiccups that we are facing. Some issues with this display ID. Yeah, just ignore that for now. Let's see, Rohit, if it works. But I'm getting another error here. Again, this is a part of all of this creating applications and all of that. Let's see what this error seems. None type object has no attribute display ID. Why should display ID be there? So let's look at the Carat. Might have something changed. It's okay, time to time, sometimes Carat libraries also get updated. Anyway, so let's look at supervised and regression. And let's say regression. Setting up environments. Okay, so import regression, this one. So non-boot, HTML is equal to false, right? So we are not going to use any of this HTML file that comes in. Okay, so HTML is going to be false. So non-notebook. Okay. Seems like done. So let's see how this is working. Typically, you want this particular one to come out as an outcome, and if that is coming out, then it should be working. Let's see, hope this time it works. It's building the model. Let's see. Hmm. And meanwhile that is happening, what I'm going to do is also install Streamlight. Right? So it's going to be pip install Streamlight. Yeah, so basically this is done. Let's see if we have that. Yes. So if you'll see now, deployment 11.11.0.2020.pkl, there's this pickle file getting dumped, right? So basically all this code did is this part of it, where, you know, you took the data, you built a model and then created this file, that is these coefficients that we have. So this is now created, right? Now we need to use this in the app like this to be able to create or have that app live and running, right? So for that, what we will do is let's save this, but we will create another Python file here. Did I create? Yeah, there is already .py file here that is there, right? So we'll create that py file, and then in this we are going to be creating the Streamlight app that we have, right? So the Streamlight is also installed. If you don't, if you don't have Streamlight, what you can do is you can just say pip install Streamlit, and it should be able it should be installing it, right? So to be able to see if Streamlit is opening, what we're going to do is we're going to say import Streamlit as st, right? Then I'm going to say st dot title, and I'm going to give it a small title here, insurance application, right? Save it, and then I'll just go to the terminal part of it here in this terminal, and I'm going to basically say Streamlit run app.py, right? So what this does is basically it it sort of creates this application which is going to be looking like this. Right now it doesn't have anything. We're going to be putting a lot of things within that place. But yeah, as you can see now, like, we build the main part. We just now need to put all of these elements or these things together, right? We're not going to be doing so much of it here, but we are just going to be simply doing a much more basic version of this app in this. Rohit, hope you are able to get that, but if it is not there, just skip for now and try to do it later. Okay, cool. So far with me, guys? Yes, no? Yes, no? Yes, no? So app building, you're going to see how easy it's going to be building apps within Python. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to import a bunch of other libraries also. I'm going to be importing Carat, obviously, in this. Carat. dot from Carat dot regression. We're going to be importing now load model, right? Instead of recreating the model and then predict model here, right? So remember, like we built the model here. So building processes, we are not going to be creating it, right? We are going to be creating the predict model in this particular location, right? So what this means is that whatever pickle file that we created here, that is this pickle file, we're going to import it within this code and then do the prediction, right? So that's why we're going to be loading the model and then predicting the model that we have here, right? So that's the primary stuff that we're going to be doing here. And also the other things that we will be importing is pandas as PD, and with pandas we also require numpy as np, right? So all of these libraries, and then obviously first we will begin by loading the model, and the load model we're going to be saying model is equal to load model, and then model's name we're going to be giving it here, right? So the model name that we have here is this model name, right? And I'm just going to go here and then paste it. We don't need to give the extension here, but we load the model, and that's sufficient for us, right? Now obviously we need to then also create the user inputs for that particular for this app, right? So for that I'm going to basically give a run uh, uh, a run function here where we're going to place everything within that particular thing, right? So that way it runs, and within this run obviously you want to put this title, right? And then towards the end you want to run this, you want to basically do this if, because remember we are building an application, is equal to main. These are some environment setups and things that we want to run, and just say run, right? So basically now even if this is run, it basically helps you to organize things and put things in order, right? So nothing will happen as such anything on this particular app yet. Your app will still be loading, but we just structured the page in such a way that all of these elements are there, right? So we have those elements obviously, and then um, you want to basically add a sidebar stuff also, so that we can see the sidebar that we have here, something like this. So we want to create some of these sidebar elements, right? We'll not be creating this, but let's just create these placeholder elements that we have, right? So I'm just going to place the sidebar stuff first, right? And it's going to be something like this. So I'm going to say st dot sidebar, and I'm going to give let's say dot info now, and then give the piece of code, right? This app is created using Carat and Streamlight, right? So if you save it and then look at this particular information here, you'll see there's this sidebar getting created where I can just now reduce or close that in and then bring it back up, right? So this is that piece of code that we have here, similar to this, right? Now, obviously, I'm also going to add a link to this so that it just stays there, and that's basically an advertisement of my YouTube channel. So that's how I just call it here, right? So I'm just going to paste my link of my YouTube channel within this place, right? So you can see the app that we're building, guys. It's like instantly getting updated, and you don't need to relaunch it again and again, right? So it's very, very easy to sort of build the apps going forward, right? You just, make the change and it's already reflecting within it, right? So you don't have to be doing a lot of these things to be doing it, right? I'm also going to paste, uh, bring some images. Obviously, you want to bring some images on top of it also, right? So I'm just going to say import um, PIL as import um, from PIL, sorry, from PIL import image. From PIL import image, and I'm going to also load image hospital, right? The hospital image. It's not here, so I'm going to go and pick it up from the old one that I've already created. There is this image that I will just simply come here and paste it, right? So this one, this is the one, this is the image I want to load and display on the sidebar. So I can do that easily. I'm just going to say image for hospital is equal to image, it's going to be capital I, sorry. It's going to be image dot open, and I'm going to give this particular file. Sorry, my bad. This is the file that I'll be giving, right? And then obviously I want to display just below this part of it. So I'm going to say dot sidebar dot image, and I'm going to give this image hospital that we have, right? Copy that and I'm going to paste it here. Save it, right? And if you go back to the app that we have here, so this map, and refresh the app, you should be able to see an image. And obviously you can put anything of the nature that you want to put, but yeah, you got the drift of putting this particular thing, right? Now, once that is done, these elements are done. What we can do is now take all of these elements that we have, all of these things that we need to be putting there, right? So obviously we put all of these headings and all of that there, but now we also want to, put a lot of these elements so that we can put this inputs, right? So I'm going to capture the inputs from the user here, and we'll see how easy it's going to be to sort of capture the inputs, right? So I'm going to say age is equal to, right? And I'm going to say st dot number input. Now age is our number input, right? And I'm going to say the age is what I'm going to be saying. Minimum value is depending on the context that you have here, right? So I'm just going to be putting it as one. Max value, max underscore value is going to be 100, right? So that's the maximum value, and at what's the current value that you wanted to be holding, you can say 25 or let's say 21 or something like that, right? So this will be the default value that the app will hold whenever it's open, and this is the age variable that you want to capture. Like this is the tag that we're giving it, like the label. Minimum value 1, maximum value 100, and this is the thing, right? So if I save this and go back to my app, now we should have an input here, right? This is the input. Like you see, 21 is the minimum value, like the default value, but I cannot. The minimum value is obviously 1, and I cannot put anything beyond 101, right? It has to be a value which should be 100. So that's the maximum value anybody can, right? So yes, I'm just going to leave it at the default, but you get the drift. The user can now basically select the age variable and then um, have some of the selections done, right? So that's the age. Quite similarly, what we're going to be doing now is replicating this same process for the rest of them, right? So I'm just going to like copy some of the codes that I've already written so that you can just quickly go past this. But I have the sex variable. Now the select box has male and female. Then you have like a number input again, which is BMI. It's very similar to what we have here, right? This is going to be a select box, which is going to be a drop down, like a male or female. This is going to be a select box, like, and the number of children can be like 0 to 10. So we're going to be placing them in such a way, right? So if I just refresh it here, sorry, I refresh it here, you should be seeing all of these inputs that are available, and I can also be selecting some of these values that are available, right? So makes it super easy to get the user inputs. But within the app, you also see that we have this smoker, non-smoker part of it, right? So you want this element, and let's see how we can get that element also, right? So to be able to get that, we're going to be using a checkbox code here, and this is the code that will be looking like, right? So it will be like something like if st dot checkbox, right? And we're going to call this smoker checkbox, right? And if this is the checkbox, depending on the value, smoker is equal to yes, right? And then else smoker is equal to no, right? So we now also have a checkbox which is going to be like choose, you know, if this button is checked, right, then it's going to be yes, else it's going to be no, right? So that's the value that we are doing, and we're trying to basically mimic the input that we have, right? These are very easy to fill, but again, this is a yes or no wala thing. So that's why we are putting a checkbox there rather than a drop down or something like that, right? And similarly, then last piece of thing, we want another drop down, which is going to be the region drop down, right? So I'm just going to copy that for doing it quicker. So I'm just going to do another select box like this, where you have the region and all of the drop downs that are available, right? So if I come back here and refresh it, we'll have that smoker checkbox and the regions that we have there, right? So all of these things are now present. So cool. Now, obviously, last part of it is, you know, you want to, we've loaded the model, but we've not really used it, right? Like, typically what should happen now is that anything the user inputs, there should be something in the background, like this calculation that we did, right? That calculates the stuff and then gives the value or displays the value, right? That's what we want to get done in this particular piece of, right? So as of now, there is no output, right? So I'm just going to say output is equal to something like this. I don't have any output as of now, but I want a variable that has output, and then we'll obviously fill the values with it, right? Then I'm also going to create a dictionary, an input dictionary. So what this input dictionary does is basically all of these inputs that you're providing, right? It sort of puts it into a data frame so that we can then submit it into that model equation and get this value, right? So we need two things we need the inputs and the coefficient. The models we have, the model we have it, right? This is the deployment model, right? But we don't have the inputs that users, right? So user gives all of these inputs. We need to store those inputs, right? So that's what we are doing here. I'm just going to say call this as input dictionary, right? And I'm going to basically create a dictionary that says age, sorry, age is going to be from the age variable, right? Um, age is going to be from the age variable. Then the next, I'm going to get the sex from, sorry, from the sex variable, comma, and then BMI from the BMI variable, comma, children from children variable. Okay. So what else do we have? So 4 of them is over. We need a smoker. So this is the smoker variable that we have here, and we want to basically get the smoker input from here, right? So we'll say smoker is going to be smoker, right? Comma, and the last thing is obviously region. So I'm going to say region is going to be region. Ensure that capitals are present in that particular thing. So basically anything that these are the variable names, right? So this names are the values that you want to get within this particular locations, right? And these are obviously the same names that are present within this particular column, right? So this column names should match in the quotations because that's a column name, right? And then we obviously convert this into a data frame, right? So to convert it into a data frame, because that's the input that will be given, right? So that input data frame is going to be obviously converted into pandas dot data frame, and then you provide this particular input dictionary so that it converts into a pandas data frame, right? So basically now what we did, we basically created an input which just has this one parameter, right? So it has like whatever the user has submitted, that parameters along with the names that are there. And obviously this is not there, right? This is what we want to predict, right? So we don't have this. We have all of these inputs that the user provided and the pickle file. So we're going to pass into that pickle file and then predict the charges, right? That's the step that will be there. Yeah, thanks Vivek for that input. Anyway, so that's what will be getting done in this next piece of code, right? So what we need to do is obviously make the prediction now in this. So how the prediction will be done is we need to have this button. So we have this ht button, right? And we're going to call this as predict, right? It's going to be called as predict, and then obviously the predict output, sorry, output is going to be is equal to predict. Yeah, so we basically want to predict the model, right? And sorry, just predict within Python, right? So it's going to be predict model is equal to the model that we had created on the top that we have, right? So you see this model that we created, we're going to give that as the model. Using that model, you want to predict the inputs basis the input data frame that we have here, right? So input data frame is equal to this input data frame that we need to be using, right? So that's the two inputs. You need a model and you need the inputs, right? Just like this file, you have the model that is built here and the inputs. Then it's going to basically put together and then get you this particular output, right? So that's what this output means. And then this output, finally, what we will be doing it, we will obviously put the dollar. This is not the right way to do it, but for quick and simple way to do it, I'm just going to put the dollar in front of that particular this thing, and I'm going to convert that into a string, right? So I concatenate the string with the output that I get, right? And then finally, after that prediction is done, right, you want to display that output. You want to display that output, right? So st dot, I'm going to use a success message here, right? And then I'm going to give the output, the insurance amount is with a curly bracket, that space, right? Dot format, and then give the output that we have, right? So this output that we generated, we want to basically now display it in this particular form, right? So obviously these all things are not visible, so I did not refresh and show you, but this will be visible now, right? So basically this is taking the user inputs and then predicting what it should be, and then displaying that particular output. So if I go back to my application now, hopefully it should be there. 8 errors as an index, something is wrong. Pass in as an index. Where is this error? There is some value error. Some value error is happening here. So we need to see it's with the dictionary or something like that. So let's see what's happening there. Okay, so we have this output, we have this input dictionary. This is good. Okay, I need to provide this into a square bracket because that's a list that we are providing to the data frame, and that should do the magic. Predict. Okay, it's predict model. It's changed, so we have to use this one also. Okay, sorry, my bad. From last time I've done it in Python to now it has changed. So it's going to be predict model. Anyway, so that is done. And if I refresh the file now, hopefully it should work. Okay. So basically you can see all of the inputs that we have. I'm just going to, choose any one of this and say predict, and predict model got an expected argument. Okay, it shouldn't be predict model. It should be predict. I don't know what this is. Predict is not there. Okay, there has been some change, so let's see what the change is. Should we predict model? Let's go back to PyCarat. Okay, let's go to supervised and regression. Okay, so let's see, save model, predict model. So you have this estimator. Just need to give that estimator directly. Right, so I think we don't require model is equal to, just give the predictor directly. And data is equal to new data. Okay, I think this should be doing it. Let's see, let's run it. Sorry. 5. Yeah, it's a predict. Okay, it is giving a value, but it's actually giving a lot of other things also along with it. We don't want that. We just want this particular value. But yeah, we got the answer for now, right? So if you do this, the model is run and then you get this particular output, right? So what is the output? Let's see. The output is this. Return information grid is printed when it is Okay, so basically there has been some change, which means we need to only get this value. So page 1, this is all we don't require. Okay. So it's giving a data frame definitely, which means we need to basically take depending on the output, we need to take the label or index. This label should be the one that we should be taking it. Right. So if I just take just the label, I think so this should be doing the magic and getting the output. Okay. If I refresh it, predict. Okay, I still get this index somehow. Index is 0. Don't want the index 0. So we will take this dot value to get the answer. Okay, hopefully that should be working. No value. Oh, it got converted into strings. So just taking the first value of the index and let's see what I'm getting here. Scalar value. Just trying to only get the value because a lot of other things are coming along with it. We don't want those things to be coming. So this is not coming. Save it. And refresh it and see. Okay, still giving index 0. Don't want this index 0 to be coming in somehow. Let's see if that should be. Yeah, it should be. Right, so we basically now got that amount. It basically predicts everything and just gives this particular output, right? So basically now this entire app is done. What let's do a recap. Basically, what we did is we imported the Streamlit library, which helps us build this app. We also did the regression load model and predict model. There has been some change between what I had done earlier and now. So we took care of all of that. We loaded the model, right? And then we set up all of these parameters, the sidebar, title. We captured all the inputs that the user provided, right? Like all of these as inputs, and which is tying back to all of the columns that are provided here in order for us to predict this one, right? So we did that. We took the output, we took the input, converted into a data frame, and then with the help of predict button, it basically calculates all of this output for us, and then displays that output in this particular format, right? There are other things that we did to basically get this app running, but now this entire app is basically ready, where this app is running nicely. The only step left now is we take this app and then deploy it into the Heroku the Heroku background, right? So if you need to have a Heroku sort of you need to have this Heroku account for launching this app. But what you can do is, if you want to launch this Heroku app, we can do it directly from GitHub, right? But there are a couple of other things that you need to be doing it. So what I'll do is, whatever files I have done, I'm just going to be saying added model and app, and I'm going to commit to main, push to origin, right? And where is my GitHub? Yeah. So you'll see that you'll basically have this app dot and create dot model. You'll have this deployment model, images, data is there. All of this is there, but this app will still not get launched because it requires a couple of other files, right? So if you see here, the couple of other files that will be required typically is going to be requirements.txt, and then there is this a setup.sh file that will be required, right? So this one and this file will be required. So how do we do that? There is a small piece of code that we need to be doing that will help us to do that, and I have some deployment codes there, right? So if I just do pip freeze and say requirements.txt, this particular piece of code, that is going to create the requirements file for me, right? So what I'm going to do is hit Control C for closing the tab, and I'm going to basically write this pip freeze requirements.txt. So what this will do is, it will create this requirements text, and it will basically have all of those um, you know, uh, all of those libraries we use to build this model, and it sort of dumps all of these things, right? So if there is any issues, it will the while deployment, this file is going to be taking care of installing the right packages while we are deploying, right? So we have this requirements file, right? And this other thing that we need to do is, there is this um, you have to create this setup.sh file, right? And we just need to copy paste this particular piece of code that is there. So what I'll do is, typically I just take it from the other one that I have created, setup.sh, and you can just take it from my file also, and I'm going to put it here and paste it here, right? So that setup.sh is now available here. You'll see that again, it's a Streamlight app. You can put an email ID if you want to put. I'm just going to put epicexcel@gmail.com. Some credentials and some of these files that will be there, right? So all of the files that are required will definitely be, all of these things will be available directly here. And all we need to now do is ensure that these files are also added and committed to the main, right? So once that is done, basically we should have that setup.sh and requirements.txt, right? Let me just check once more if I have all of the things. We have this git ignore, git attributes, hospital requirements. Yeah, so all of that is done there, right? So now, obviously, we want to take this this particular thing and then load it into Heroku, and that's how we'll be doing it, right? So I'm going to say create new app, and the app name is ML app live, and I'm going to call it as BI live. Oh, it should be dashes. So be dashes like this. Okay, so this should be good. I'll just choose Europe as a region and say create app. Obviously, you need to connect it to a GitHub account here, and the app name is Streamlit. Streamlit and search, and you'll see that app that we did here is available. So I'm just going to say connect it here, right? And I'm not going to do this, but I'm just going to say deploy the main branch. We just have main branch, right? So if you go further into a lot of things, there'll be a lot of other things, but you just want to deploy this particular branch, right? So what it will do is in this, while it's deploying it on the cloud, it's going to be installing the Python app. It's going to be installing all the versions that we have mentioned and all of the requirement files. Something failed here. Okay, there is no such directory as this part of it. So we'll have to resolve some of those things as this is not going to be able to get some of these directories there. So what I'll do is anywhere there is this file sort of a thing, I'm going to remove that. Hopefully this should do the trick. And it should be a much simpler one, but let's see. So many things. This and hope that all of that installations of Carat and Streamlight should be able to install all of these dependencies. Just want to check Carat is there. Yeah, Carat is there, and Streamlit should be there. Yeah, yes, that's also there. There's a bunch of these things also there. You'll get used to doing all of these things, guys. Don't worry about this. Yeah, save this. And let's see if we can make all of these changes. Push it. Almost done, guys. Yeah, and let's deploy this branch again. Hopefully this will do the trick. Wait back and let's let that installation get done. Okay, guys, so those who are watching, please let me know if you have any questions. I know there's a lot to take in, so you'll have to watch this video again to do a lot of these things. But this is what it is. This is what ML apps, this is how ML apps are developed in the core. Okay, there is something that is failing again here. MKL service is not found. that. So, which means what I will do, what Vivek, what do you want? Okay, I'm going to keep it very simple so that and I'm going to keep only Streamlight so that I'm just going to keep these two. Hopefully, this should be doing the trick. Commit, push. At file where it got deleted. Achha, it's okay, no problem. Let's see. Here I'm just doing a very simple one. So let's see if that works for me or not. So let's see. Hopefully, so those two typically will install all the dependencies that are required. So it makes it much more easier. Okay, so we'll sit back and see the installation going on. Managing libraries and handling all of these things with ever-ending updates is one crucial thing. So you want to know which version you're using for developing and install that while deploying it, right? So that you don't run into any issues while deploying it, right? So as you can see, all of the dependencies are also getting installed automatically. So keeping it simple was better. Hmm. Almost there, guys. Seems like the installation is a success. Okay, couple of seconds, it should be done. Yeah, it should be done. There are no errors. Okay. So this should be live in some time. Seems like, yeah, it's live. So let's just click on this link right? And then see if that app is there. Okay, it's taking some time. So yeah, it's still building it. So after this is done, guys, this app should be able to be live, right? So I'm just going to drop this link in the read my in this readme file here. Okay, let's do it here. Save, and that should be doing it, right? So push to origin, and it should be doing it, right? So it will take some time to build the thing, but yeah, this is what this app building process is there, right? Quite simply put, we have this data. What we did is we took the data, we built a model, we got this output, we use this output and the user inputs to predict the insurance amount and put all of this together into an app, which the user can then select and then look at the output like we are able to look at, such as this, right? That's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching this particular thing. I hope this was not too complicated, but this is what it is. This is, a couple of these apps. If you build, you will be automatically be very accustomed with some of these things. So I'm just going to drop the link there in the comment section, and I'll be sharing with participants. Right. So yeah, that link is there, and everything is placed within that file. So remember, you need this the requirements and setup.sh to be able to run it properly. And rest of the things will be automatically be taken care, right? So that's all for today, guys. Thank you. Hope you like this, guys. Yeah, data is there within that, Vivek. The data is present here in this slide, so you can get the data here. Hope you got that, Vivek. Okay. Anyway, guys, good. So give your feedbacks, guys, to Board Infinity, and they'll pass the feedback on to me, and let me know what all else we can do or cover. Right. So thank you. Have a nice day, and see you again.